Good afternoon to all. Uh, Before I start up delivery of my speech, I would like to introduce myself that I am from Tamil Nadu Government Civil Service. I handled the tsunami project when the tsunami hit the Nagapattinam district in 2004. And I served there for 3.5 years. Then I was posted as a managing director of Tamil Nadu Trade Promotion Organization. Many of you might be aware of the organization located in Chennai. So this is about the experience I gained during the project experience in Nagapattinam district. I just like to introduce the basic facts about the Nagapattinam district, which is the southernmost part of Tamil Nadu. The district has a peculiar geographical feature about it has 189 kilometers of coastal length, whereas the maximum width of the district is only about 18 kilometers, 18. And the district is divided into two parts. One is north and southern by a state called Karaikal, which is part of the Pondicherry. So in this circumstance, we celebrated the Christmas on 25th December 2004 and slept well. And next day morning, by 7, I got a call from my collector. Kanta Swami, where are you? Sir, I woke up by your call. Please walk to my camp office. I went there. Then we started. Kanta Swami, I am getting calls from many habitations that the sea water inundated many of the habitations. And there were no proper report from the residents because of many of the habitations were washed away altogether. And in some habitations, it took an hour. The people, because the morning, the fishermen, they go for fishing to the sea in the night, get back in the morning. On the way back to sea, except the lighthouse, they used to identify their habitation by seeing the kith and kins standing on the shore. So just 500 meters away from the shore, they saw their wife, kith and kin standing there. And one jerk was on water. They felt. And within a minute, there was nothing on this scene on the shore. Everything was underwater. Those people, like a Pumbuhar, those people who reached this shore and made a call, then we called other people. Slowly we started call from the people, media, and other habitations, and call from our head office. Then we started realizing something happened, then we should visit. Then collector went on side, and myself, I went to the other habitations called Kichangupam, which is just 2 kilometers from Nagapattinam headquarters. There was nothing. There was nothing on the ground, and everything was washed away. And even the boats nearing the shore was taken away 2 kilometers from the sea and thrown just like. And so this is in Nagapattinam, which I told earlier, that the yellow portion which you are seeing on the screen, that the white is divided by the Karaikal, the northern portion and the southern portion. This is about the basic geographical details which we'll learn academically from anywhere. And this is the seismic map. The Nagapattinam district is not only known for this tsunami, but also known for the cyclone, storm, and flood. And every year, and that too in today's scenario that we are facing the disaster, particularly the end of year. November, December, If we miss it out, then definitely we'll have it in January. This is a geography history says about the disasters happening in Nagapattinam district. This tsunami wave, which was unknown to India, the tsunami is a harbor wave in Japanese, which was originated in Sumatra island of Indonesia and traveled through Bay of Bengal, and it has its own. And this is how the wave under sea originated and spread like the sound and light. So the severity of the magnitude of which was measured by Richter scale is about 9. Exactly, it was 8.9, and that the wave hit the shore by 6:29 a.m. on 26/12/2004. Not only the Nagapattinam, but also the other districts of all 13 coastal districts of Tamil Nadu. But the Nagapattinam was worst affected. 76% of the devastation happened to Nagapattinam district. And this video was taken by one of the tourists visited Kanyakumari, which was southernmost part of the Tamil Nadu. So can you help to run the video?
Well, the video is playing. I think you have to keep it out of. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll help you with that.
Here you can see the wave hitting this Thiruvalur statue located in Kanyakumari district. The statue height is about 1,333 feet. The wave which hit on the rock of the statue, it reaches out of the height of the statue. The interesting factor in tsunami, what we have experienced is that about 6,600 people who lost their life, roughly about 1,000 people, they lost life during the receipts of water. They run through the land mass on with travel. Because why I want to say that the speed of the water is so high, not only hitting, but also while withdrawing its force. And many of the people who climbed on tree while the sea went through the landmass and they fall down, most of them died. This also happened on many cases, and we find very difficult to recover the bodies. And wherever you walk through the way on coast side, many occasions you will have to keep your leg on many bodies. This was the occasions we faced. And the total disaster on the human death was estimated about 450 deaths for every kilometers of the coastal length. That was happened in Nahapatnam district. Again. Actually, this video was taken from the government headquarter hospital located in Nahapatnam. This hospital is 2.5 kilometers away from the coast. This is the speed of water while it recedes to the sea. Next. Right. So this is about the impact of the tsunami at a glance. The district affected. This is about the total Tamil Nadu's. 13 districts were affected, and 376 villages and hamlets were inundated. 0.4 million people were evacuated, and affected people was 9 million. The life lost is 8,008, of which 6,065 lives was from Nahapatnam district alone. The person missing, because the missing case is out of the lives lost, because the bodies, the tourists who came to Nagur, the tourists and pilgrims who came to Velankani, Tranquebar, and the body was started decomposing. The faces also not able to recover. And worst scenario is when the bodies were thrown away, and the bodies were identified after a week. So this was the reason why many of the bodies and most of the bodies were swallowed by the sea, taken away with the water itself. This is a scale of disaster. So human loss 8,018 in Tamil Nadu, of which 6,060 from Nahapatnam, and missing cases is 1,126, of which Nahapatnam alone stake about 791. So unidentified cases, the bodies were recovered, but no people were able to identify the body belonged to which hamlet. If you see that Nahapatnam, the people who lived in the Nahapatnam standing were on shore, more than 400 bodies were recovered in Velagani. Velagani was 15 kilometers away from Nahapatnam. So we were not able to even identify the body to hand over to the kith and kins. The cattle loss similarly, and the injured persons immediately we have to take it up. It depends on the nature of the injury. It's a grievous or simple injury. Depending upon the nature of injury we have treated them as an inpatient or outpatient in Nahapatnam, and the next adjoining district is Tiruvarur. And if it is major case to be operated, then we have shifted them to Kadalur or to. And the death case is, though the death case is high, the worst sufferers are three categories for us. One is the couple who lost all the children. The couple lost all the children and done family planning. So that is the one. Even if they decide to have other children, next child, they are not able to. And the children who lost both the parents. And one third category, father alone, about 170 fathers alone. He lost brother, sister, mother, son, daughter, everybody. So this is why I just want to under which circumstance we have started our project there. This is the ground zero in Nagapattinam that all the over the pilgrims towns Nagur also was hit severely. Hence the experience in Nagapattinam is extremely valuable. So this is after the water recedes, this is a scene. This is a street. How many of you have visited Vellangani? I'm not sure about. Opposite to church, one might have seen a road reaches to the beach. This is the one road on either side. All the shops were located. Just after withdrawal, this is not spread by anybody else. It is spread by the seawater. And this is a scenario everywhere you go in search of bodies. And after a week, then we didn't have any other option than taking the photos of each bodies, displaying in the notice board, and make it record. The people who come far away to in search of their kith and kins, we have shown the photos and try to identify the people. This was the case because that time we did not have any other option than taking things as such. Again, the extent of damages, I just quickly go through that because unless I talk about my experience, unless I show the intensity of the devastation and take up my speech on how I handle the project, then it won't be quite interesting to understand the importance. So on the first day, you see the scenario was like there was drizzling rain for first 10 days, and all 73 habitations were in dark. There was no electricity light, and whatever the relief operation you are supposed to take that only in daytime. So you have to start by 6 o'clock in the morning, and you have to close by 6 o'clock in the evening. So only 12 hours relief operation you have in hand. In that the people are spread and the NGOs are coming in on the other side. And there were many habitations which were not accessible. The roads were disconnected, and even the relief materials we were not able to take to the affected people in time. And this was the scenario for the first 5 days under which we have worked. So immediately then we saw that we understood that the thing is like a storm, flood and something else. So we have a usual strategy how every year we handle the storm and flood, other things, that forming a team, composing various offices, and this came up quite different. Then when we sent the team, they were not able to do anything because there were no people at all to take up the rescue operation to recover the bodies. There were no sufficient hands, so we didn't have enough manpower to handle the issue. We didn't have money. So whatever, the government, how we work. So whatever money we want, we have to send a proposal. The government has to pass a GO, and the GO has to be accepted by the treasury. Then the treasury will release the government check. which you can encash in the SBI in your district. This is how. This will take at least a week, and normally only 2 crores we have in a district giving treatment, and health officials, doctors and paramedical staffs also we didn't have enough. Then we requested. So first we have addressed how to bring more manpower. That was our first issue, because we have stopped. We have stopped since the road was disconnected from the mainland. The mainland means Tiruvarur, which is adjoining to the Nagapattinam, was only connective roadway marching to the Nagapattinam district. That was disconnected, and we requested the government to bring more manpower. So government sent 11 ministers and 24 IAS officers, very senior level officers who are worked in Nagapattinam, Tiruvarur, Tanjavur, who knows about the geography of the regions. So we formed a team composing of the local bodies, executives, highways, public works department, health department, village administrative officers, all those. So we formed the committee, and we have designated the geography locations. We have sent the team to each region. First thing is to take the injured persons for the treatment, and second was to recover the bodies. Unless otherwise you secure the body, then the decomposition will, and the other hazard will come up. So first thing is to mobilize the manpower, and then the second day we got approval that we need a special sanction from the government to spend for rehabilitation work, relief work. So every day the team will go to the site with a cash in a gunny bag of 5 crores. But what to do? We need to have technicians to take up. We need to have a poklane, cranes, and those things that we were not able to mobilize in time, because the roads were. Unless you remove the roads, it is an interchangeable bottleneck. Unless you remove the road, you can't take the machineries. To keep the road worthy, you need a machineries. So this is how we battled between these two issues. Then we took a few equipments, whatever the possibles, through Karaikal port. We took a machineries through sea. By sea we took machineries, and from the port we have shifted some of the machineries, and slowly we started connecting the Nagapattinam district with the mainland. And similarly, the contractors, the professional technicians we have called from all the districts, almost about 50 to 60,000 people were transferred and posted in Nagapattinam district for the first 6 months. So the entire team worked, and we go in the morning, we work, and we'll come back again. We come back to the collectorate. The day will end with a meeting. During the meeting will start between 11 and 12, the midnight. So we'll sit, we'll share the experience of the day, and then we'll make a strategy for the next day, how it should be. This is how we have started. This is all about how we have done and what are the issues we had during the days of Operation 1 and 2, 3. And this is the composition of the teams which I have discussed earlier. And then the one thing that which we felt that we should not have done. We immediately, as usual, that whenever the fire happened in a house or flood happened, immediately we rush to the house of victims. We give them a package of the rice, kerosene, and everything. We have given. We were very happy that we have released the relief materials to the victims. When we came back, again the media focused that the government released the relief materials, but they did not see whether they were able to cook it or not. They didn't have even stove with them. Even the country-made stove also was not with them at the time of tsunami. So then we realized that, okay, let us call the catering people with all the materials from the neighboring district, and this is the one team we got it from Punjab. They came as a group. The fourth day they reached Nagapattinam district, and the whole 24 hours serving kitchen, and including me and the collector, taken food from this kitchen only. So this was the scenario, and whoever comes, anytime they come, they cook and they serve. This is the treatment for the people, just beginning of the relief operations. And this is one of the lessons we have learned, that once we opened the relief materials from other district, they dumped whatever they want, mostly. Of course, many of them given in a good heart. And much of the materials, particularly the cloth items, were not received by the victims. So again, the problem came to dispose of this. So the relief materials, and we have given enough materials, relief items, rehabilitation activities, everything to the victims. This is one of the scene of the temporary shelters in which they have initially kept till we built a permanent houses. So for the victims who lost the houses, we built about 21,000 houses with all other infrastructures and given to them. Till then they've stayed in this temporary shelters. This is after a year. So slowly we started recovering from the disaster one by one. And here I would like to highlight why we were so successful in this operation. One is the government was so cooperative to assist the team in the field, and second one is with assistance of NGOs. More than 3,000 NGOs, they came to Nagapattinam district. Most of the relief activities, the rehabilitation part was ultimately taken up by the government, whereas the relief operations was so helpful. The NGOs took up most of the major measures. The socio-psychological issues also they have touched up with the victims. And they helped us a lot, including the providing infrastructures like a school building and houses and Anganwadis. So this is one how prior to at the time of tsunami how the port was devastated. This is one example. After the tsunami how we have revived. So this is the end of my presentation I would like to discuss. So some of the issues I wanted to share with you that, see, there are many issues and many experience we had while distributing the materials to the people. One thing we understood that beyond certain points, beyond certain issues, particularly we should segregate. Any disaster happens, we should segregate between the relief and the rehabilitation. For relief, you can go ahead. When you take up the rehabilitation work, either you should involve the beneficiaries or you should not give it a free of cost. At any way. The one model which I would like to point out, see, the houses, the permanent houses to the victims was built both in Nagapattinam as well as in Karaikal. Karaikal is the Union of Government of India, administered by the Pondicherry state. There, what they have adopted a formula, if the house, permanent house project cost about 2.5 lakhs, they take 25,000 rupees from the beneficiary. They deposit in the account. The government will release 2.5 lakhs. The whole project, the whole house project cost will be taken care by the government, and which will be invested in the beneficiary's account. The beneficiaries will be given a session that how you are going to build a house. They will provide a technicians. They will provide architecture. They will provide information where to get the materials, steel, cement, etc., etc. It is the responsibility of the beneficiaries to run here and there, buy the material, build a house, own it. End of day, when the house warmed, the 25,000 rupees which was deposited by the beneficiaries will be released to the beneficiaries at the end of the game. This is their experience. When we realized the difference between, whereas in the Nagapattinam district, see, one of the house site which I have shown that the fund we received very lump sum. We are received from the Chief Minister Relief Fund. We received from the Prime Minister Relief Fund, Calamity Relief Fund, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and so. Many sources. If the moment we send the proposals, immediately we get the money. We built houses, 20,000 houses, with internal road, approach road, electricity supply. Even for 10 months, the government paid the EB bill to the beneficiaries. Because after the tsunami, the catchment in the sea was so poor. They were not able to go back to the sea, and they were not able to run their life on their own. So we built a house, we made everything by the government, and after the 6 months, when we handed over the house to them, we visited the site. They didn't even patch up the door because they have a perception that it was given by the government, it is a government property, we are here to just make use of it. We don't need to invest anything on this. Though we have given a pata, chitta, and those, all the documents, they were not, perceptually, they were not prepared themselves to the things. And second, other experience which I have, that moving the people from the habitation, because the habitations which were first affected by sea water was located very close, just 50 meters, 100 meters close to the sea. The roaring of the sea also you can see from the houses of the victims. That was the scenario. So when we started building houses, we wanted to shift them from the coast to the distant place, at least about 1 kilometer away. So for which we have to counsel them. They were not prepared to come out of the habitations. At one point of time, they all said, okay, we don't want any house from the government. You just leave us alone. We'll go back to our original habitation. We'll settle there. We'll make a house with whatever the materials available with us. We don't want government to build a house which is away from the coast, because that is our lives. The sea in which we always depend on. We don't want to move away from the sea. Then we had to bring the people and the propagators, the medias, and the console the people this at least for the safety of your children, your generation, and involving the politicians, and then at last we have shifted them from this. And another bit experience we had that while enumerating the beneficiaries under various schemes, right from the loss of livestock, loss of life, loss of cattle, loss of boat. So the assessment was happened in 2004, whereas most of the benefits we have distributed the victims in 2006. Between 2006 and 2007, we started. Because that was the time we really need to have a building of the materials. So while distributing the materials, people did not accept. Oh, you give us everything we want. If there are 100 families, they want 100 houses. Whereas at the time of enumeration, it was only 60. So where we'll go for 40 more houses, at the end of the game. Again, if you start building 40 houses more, again the cycle will take another 2 to 2.5 years to complete the project. So relief, it has its own phase. While taking up the rehabilitation, we need to have a peace of mind, and at each and every point of the activities we undertake. So at the time of, there were genuine claims also. At the time of tsunami, many left the village, many victims left the village and gone to their relatives' house in other districts. They settled there for 6 months, 7 months. They lived there. And after 6 months, they came back and found that the government is distributing the houses to the victims. So I was also part of the villages. Why government don't give it to me? This was the argument we had it. And so the enumeration, the rehabilitation work has to take its own phase as such. And so if I continue to talk, I think the time is also going. Any interesting point you want to, any particular area we want to share, I think I leave it to the forum to get a feedback. Yeah, please, welcome.
So, I mean, there are two things I would like to point out. I commend you and your team for doing all that you have done. By looking at that, because of my experience in Japan, I instantly knew it's a tsunami. And I approached the police who were there and told them that, okay, there is possibility of a second wave that might come and hit. And the bad part of it was, even though we offered to stay back and help, we were sent back to hotel. So that's something, I mean, probably if there is a help available for anything that might happen, it should have been taken at that point of time. So that's my personal experience with that. So I just wanted to share.
Yeah, so the one point which I missed out during my presentation, I think you wanted me to touch that point. On third day, that is on 27th, midnight about 10:30, there were rumor that another tsunami is going to come up. You see, already we lost everything, and the whole team was dedicated, and we got only 4 hours to sleep in the night, that was in the early morning. And again, 10 o'clock, we have to come back to the collectorate to take money and go back to the field. By 10:30 on 27th, there were rumor in all habitations that another tsunami is going to hit. So everybody started coming with the children and with their whatever the materials they could pack from their house. They walking out. The media was focusing like anything. Myself and everybody was trying to push them. So nothing happened. If anything happened, we'll tell you. You know how the people will react. How will you tell us? For how many villages you it is a real fact. See, because we don't have any system to communicate to the habitations. Because even when the relief was started, we locally depend on the local TV and Karaikal FM. This was the mass media communication available with us. Any communication which is commonly applicable to the people, we communicated only through these 2 medias. And one more thing, if anyone doesn't make it in a different way, it is very hardest to handle the fishermen. Of 196,000 people evacuated, and 87% of the victims are fishermen. They have their own system. Even today, the Nahapatnam district, you know, in geography, it is not something like an island which is far detached from our mainland, miles together. But though it is a part of Nagapattinam district, 25% of the people in each habitation doesn't know where it is collectorate, where the taluk office is located, who is government officer, what he is. They doesn't know. Because they have a system. You know that Natar, the panchayatar in each villages, each habitations, they rule the people. Even if you want to take up the relief material to the particular habitations, you can't walk just to the people. If you does it, there is no assurance for your life. First, you have to take a consent from the Natas, panchayatar. If they agreed, only then they'll ask us to wait in their house. They'll go to the habitation. They'll assemble all the people in the temple. Then they'll take you to the people, anything you want to deliver. And before taking you to the mass, they'll dictate all the things. Then nothing you will have to say to the people. Don't say this, don't say this, don't do this. Then you will forget what for you have come. So they'll brush up everything and wash yourself and keep you clean. That just you have to stand physically and come out. That's all. And slowly we have started taking the confidence of the people and calling the people. And here, those who become successful, they adopted a policy of divide and rule. There will be 10 panchayatas. All the 10 panchayatas are not united. So there will be a group, either by party or by the state wise. So we'll call them independently. We'll take all the 10 panchayatas phone and we'll call each one. And this is a thing, this is a thing, and I am inviting you specially, and I don't invite other. So definitely, this is a game we did, but in good faith. We wanted to approach the people. Even the beneficiaries you identified, you can't go to the site and enumerate the list. Whatever the list given by the panchayatar, you have to accept. Even if you display. When I found that something wrong in the list, because the relief items is not just like 1 or 2 rupees. It's 3 lakhs. It starts from 3 lakhs. So there was so much of demand that to get the relief items from the government. So then I started, okay, I will not release the relief items unless I list the beneficiaries in the habitations. So I have taken the printout and pasted in the notice board. I wrote, then when I gone to the village, I just listed out the beneficiaries. No one came out to complain the list, what is wrong and about what is wrong and what is good. Then I have to, in the list, every list, I have to write my phone number. Any complaint, any grievance, please make this call. Call to this number anytime you want. Then we have invited. This is how you reject those cases, suspicious cases or rejected cases. Then automatically 2 panchayatar out of 10 will come in support of them. No, you keep away. So then you have to bargain. Okay, if 10, I'll give you 2. But don't interfere in our distribution. This is how we have segregated into units, subunits, and sublet, have handled that. So why we are not able to do that? The people, this is how we taught them also at one point of time. See, you are a fisherman, you depend on the sea. Like us, I'm a government servant, I depend on the government for salary. But I work in a very safety manner. I go to office, I park my vehicle, I do work, come back. But whereas how you live, you are putting the entire life nearby sea. If anything happens, definitely you lose. Not only you, and your entire family will be washed away once again if something happens. So then slowly the people started realizing. But today you go there, none of the early warning system is working. So at the time of your inspection, some may work out. One fellow, he'll ride two-wheeler very fast, and overtake your vehicle, then you must understand. That definitely this early warning system is going to work up. Then what is to check up? Come back. So this is a culture we have developed, and from my experience, whatever the disaster happening, and whatever will happen, we never mind it out, and we never prepare ourselves. Not from the lesson I learned from the tsunami, but also the lesson we learned from handling the disaster management program for storm, cyclone, etc. Every year, when the cyclone comes, when the flood comes, again we have to start the same thing. Even the people also not prepared. The people are very curious. Some people are very clever that if the harvest, if they are sure about that the harvest of the paddy is not going to take up more than 60%, they pray God to some flood to come, so that they'll take at least relief from the government and settle for the year. This is how the people also mentally prepared. At one point of time, they also prepare to give up and take according to the balance sheet which they work out. And any more
did you think of building a planned city when you had to rehabilitate, or that option was not available because of the local issues that you discussed?
If you don't mind, please repeat.
Okay, I was wondering if you, when government had to rehabilitate the entire city of Nagapattinam, did you look at doing a planned city, a new planned city, or that option was not available because of the many issues that you mentioned, where there is the locals dictate the terms and difficult to convince them?
Yeah, what I'm talking about is we overcame with all hurdles we faced, and we built 21 permanent houses at 57 habitations. The new settlement is not something like what even the real estate people they do. They build only the apartment and sell it to out, and they don't even bother about connecting the approach road with the apartment with main road. That's not happened to us. And this is why the project, the tsunami rehabilitation project in Nagapattinam district was attracted all over the world. Even the Chhattisgarh governor came, and a mission came from the Gujarat government to study the project, how we have implemented. Because that time, I think we were 9 years old when the earthquake happened in Ahmedabad. Even that time, the project was going on. The rehabilitation project was going on in Gujarat. By the time we were able to complete within a span of 2 years. So the city we built, but there are so many constraints. So problem in land acquisition and a problem in the size of the land. Suppose we were not able to divide the community. If we want to take up a particular habitation, we have to take up a community as a whole. We were not able to divide the community. Okay, so due to constraint of the land, 50 of you stay here, 50 of you go to the other habitations. We'll make all the arrangements. They didn't agree with that formula. So then we had to think of that G+1 model, and some of them I don't want G+1. I want the separate model with 2 houses at ground floor. Then again, we had to change the thing. The city, what we built even today is quite good. But the problem is, as usual, the geography is just 2 kilometers away from the coast. The people, again, now after rehabilitation, they have a 2 house. Earlier they had only 1 house on coast. Now they have a 2 house. That's all. If no questions from your side, I think I would like to wind up my presentation, and I would like to thank you all and thank the team which have given this golden opportunity to share our experience before you. And once again, and thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.